The woman was dragged back to the room by the killer. Then she was stuffed into the oven. No matter how the woman screamed in agony, the killer ultimately pressed the switch. As a wave of hot air rose, the woman stopped struggling and became a lifeless corpse. This is the latest horror movie we're discussing today. The story begins. Countless people rushed into the shopping mall. The massive crowd broke through the glass doors. They knocked down the security guards who were maintaining order. The crowd trampled them underfoot. Some people had their necks cut by shards of glass. The scene immediately descended into chaos. Some people fell down. Some people screamed in terror. Some people had their arms crushed like cookies. Some people were knocked to the ground by shopping carts. Even their hair was being pulled out. All of this drove the police into madness. However, the family members who lost their loved ones in the zero-yuan shopping frenzy shifted the blame onto the store owner. However, some people believe the reason for the chaos in the shopping mall is these crazy zero-yuan shoppers. They are the real culprits. So, that fat lady pushing a shopping cart and causing deaths became the first target. She was a waitress at a restaurant. Just as she finished cleaning the restaurant and was getting ready to leave work, she noticed, unknowingly, someone had left a strange mask on the bar counter. But when the waitress approached and picked up the mask, the waitress didn't see a figure appearing behind her on the glass. The waitress then threw the mask into the trash bin. However, just as she was about to put on her clothes and leave, a masked killer suddenly appeared in front of her and swiftly attacked her with a knife and submerged her head into the sink. Then the killer opened the freezer door and pressed the woman's face against it. In an instant, the waitress's face froze to the door. Just when the mysterious man was about to give the woman a fatal blow, unexpectedly, the waitress, enduring the pain, separated herself from the cold door and quickly escaped through the back door. However, she never expected that the masked killer had been waiting here for a long time. The next moment, the waitress was hit by a car and split into 2 pieces. The next day, the police discovered the lower half of the waitress's body. It was hung on the sign of that supermarket. However, her upper body disappeared without a trace. On the other side, the security guard saw such a terrifying news and immediately felt that something was not right. The security guard prepared to flee overnight, because on the day of the zero-yuan shopping frenzy, he, as a security guard, was actually scared away by the massive crowd. So, if there was a killer, and they wanted to seek revenge for their loved ones, then he would surely be on the list as well. However, just as he was packing his clothes to escape, he didn't expect that on his own sofa, at an unknown time, there suddenly appeared a terrifying mask. The security guard knew that someone had entered his room. So, he picked up a baseball bat to defend himself. He thought the masked killer was in the kitchen. The security guard didn't expect that the killer was hiding under the table beside him. The security guard was ambushed. In an instant, his head was severed, and this was just the beginning of the masked killer's revenge. Because next, his targets for revenge were the family of the shopping mall owner. The girl said she had an exciting show for her boyfriend to watch. She asked her boyfriend to sit on the stage. She then went to perform on the trampoline herself. However, she didn't expect that while the girl was performing her thrilling act, her boyfriend's neck was suddenly twisted 180 degrees by someone, while the girl was still performing wholeheartedly, unaware that her boyfriend had already died. However, in the next moment, a dagger suddenly emerged from under the trampoline and stabbed the girl to death on the trampoline. Such a terrible incident happened at the school. The school had no choice but to suspend classes. But there is still one couple. They planned to play in an empty school. They didn't expect that right after they walked out of the corridor, they were captured by that terrifying masked killer. Jenny, who was walking in the corridor, seemed to have heard a sound and went to investigate. However, she found her classmate's phone, and it was actually in a shopping cart. However, when she picked up the phone from the shopping cart, Jenny saw the reflection of the killer on the dark screen of the phone. And that's it. And Jenny narrowly escaped a disaster. After pushing the killer away, Jenny quickly ran inside. She hid in the school's dressing room. However, there were numerous mannequins here, and Jenny hid among the many mannequins. However, the masked killer was approaching the place where Jenny was hiding. The killer was getting closer and closer. Jenny wanted to grab the scissors nearby for self-defense. However, she accidentally knocked over a bottle of hairspray. Quick-witted Jenny suddenly attacked with the hairspray. She created an opportunity for herself to escape. In the end, Jenny ran out alone, alive. However, when the police questioned her about the killer, Jenny, out of fear, ran too quickly, and didn't see the killer clearly. Her friend Kate was also taken away by her father, and he said they would leave this haunted place tonight. They returned home. Kate had already started packing her things. However, she didn't know that downstairs in their house, the police officer who was protecting them was instantly killed. After her father realized something was wrong, he was also killed. Meanwhile, upstairs, Kate was cleaning her ears. She didn't expect that a mysterious person would suddenly appear. He directly inserted a cotton swab into Kate's ear, and he greeted Jenny, who was on a video call, injured in the ear. Kate still wanted to escape, but she was firmly grabbed by the killer. When Jenny and Mike hurriedly arrived, they also want to rescue Kate from the killer. However, they didn't expect the killer pushed Kate forward and pushed her directly onto the chainsaw. Kate died on the spot. On the next day, the Thanksgiving parade proceeded as scheduled. Jenny's family, being wealthy owners of the local supermarket, naturally became the main participants in the parade. However, in the next moment, a clown suddenly appeared and chopped off the head of the turkey. This immediately frightened the crowd, causing them to scream. The parade procession on the street became chaotic. Just as Jenny's family got into a car to escape, a clown performer rushed in and made everyone faint. The scene shifted. A man was boiling water to prepare honey glaze. He then applied the honey glaze onto a woman's body. This woman was Jenny's stepmother, Catherine. The man started from the toes and moved up to the thighs, and then to the head. Catherine turned around and saw the man, who unexpectedly turned on an oven to preheat it. Catherine realized she was about to be roasted. She was instantly frightened and urinated. When the mysterious person turned around, he realized that Catherine had disappeared. He then picked up a fork and searched around for Catherine. Little did he know, Catherine was hiding behind the door panel in the room. Shortly after, agile Catherine hid in an upstairs room, but she didn't expect that Catherine saw a woman inside the old refrigerator. But she never expected that the woman was still alive. However, Catherine herself was in danger. She could only close the refrigerator door again first. When Catherine found another hiding spot, when she hides, Catherine, however, was discovered by the mysterious person. Footprints on the floor led directly to under the table in the room, and Catherine was hiding behind the wall, preparing to ambush the mysterious person. However, the mysterious person just glanced and turned around to walk away. Just as Catherine relaxed, she didn't expect that the fork suddenly pierced through the wall. Catherine screamed and fled from the house. But how could the mysterious person let Catherine escape? The man threw a flying fork that pierced the woman, and then pulled her back. She was locked inside the oven. No matter how Catherine struggled, it was in vain. In the end, she could only be roasted at high temperatures, and turned into a dish of human roast turkey. However, Jenny's captured family, when they saw the ingredients on the table, and realized it was their stepmother, it left everyone stunned. But Jenny's father collapsed on the spot. He even vomited out the food he ate today. The masked killer. He kindly invited them to dinner. He also enthusiastically prepared human blood wine for them to taste. It would be fortunate if they didn't feel nauseous. How can they still eat? But if they didn't eat, they wouldn't have a chance to survive. Just as the killer was about to slice a delicious piece of roast meat, when he was ready for them to enjoy, Jenny had already used her ring to cut the rope on her hand. Then she handed the ring to Mike next to her. Immediately afterwards, after Mike also untied, the two of them quickly stood up and pushed the killer away. Then they fled with Jenny, but they were chased by the killer. Mike told Jenny to run ahead by herself. He stayed behind to hold off the killer for Jenny. The murderer immediately chased after Mike after slashing him. At the critical moment, Jenny jumped over a fence. She escaped from the killer's clutches as she ran towards the town and was about to seek help. She saw the town sheriff, who was lying in the middle of the road, covered in blood, and it was at this moment, Jenny seemed to see the killer hiding in a factory, so she took the sheriff's gun and chased after him. However, Jenny never expected that the person she saw in the factory turned out to be her friend Mark, and it was at this moment, the sheriff suddenly appeared behind her and took away Jenny's gun. Jenny informed the sheriff that Mark was the killer. After a gunfight, the sheriff said Mark had escaped. After other support arrives here, Jenny was essentially safe. Her father and several other imprisoned friends, they were also rescued. The sheriff stayed by Jenny's side and comforted her, saying, "Jenny, you have been very brave." Among the girls in the town, none could compare to Jenny. After the sheriff left, Jenny sat alone in a chair, lost in thought. Then she plucked the grass off her pants. It was at this moment that the sheriff entered the room. Jenny noticed grass on the sheriff's pants, and she was stunned. How could the sheriff, who hadn't been in the woods, have grass on his pants? This led Jenny to a dreadful speculation. Her unusual behavior also caught the sheriff's attention. Jenny immediately said she was feeling unwell. The sheriff replied, "I'll call a doctor for you." However, just as the sheriff was about to step out of the door, he suddenly stopped and said,
"If only you'd been stuck on the fence a second longer."
Then the sheriff closed the door. He had a showdown with Jenny. Jenny asked what had happened to Mark. The sheriff said, "He's already given Mark an injection," and Mark was ready to be shot. When Jenny nervously asked the sheriff why he would do such a thing, the sheriff finally revealed the truth. It turned out that the woman who was killed in the supermarket and had her scalp removed was actually the sheriff's wife, and she was pregnant at the time. So the sheriff blamed everything on the supermarket, and shouted loudly at Jenny. However, just as he finished speaking, Jenny took out her phone, which was live streaming. It turns out Jenny wasn't that foolish after all. She had opened her phone from the beginning. She live streamed it to the entire internet. Now the fact that the sheriff is the masked killer is known nationwide. The enraged sheriff was about to kill Jenny. Mark appeared just in time and saved Jenny. However, they were still trapped inside the abandoned factory. Just as the sheriff was about to catch up with them, Mark quickly took Jenny and fled. Before escaping, Jenny also activated the inflatable device of a rubber duck. Then she got into a pickup truck with Mark and the others. They were prepared to escape. However, they didn't expect. Their path was blocked by a small cart. The masked killer sheriff approached Jenny with an axe. Then he swung the axe down. Luckily, Jenny blocked it with a stick. At that moment, Mark started the car. The car broke through the barrier of the cart, but they didn't expect. There was a steel cable attached to the back of the pickup truck. The sheriff had tied the steel cable to a pillar. This prevented them from driving away. Just as the sheriff, wielding an axe, closed in on them step by step, Jenny is on the pickup truck. She found an old-fashioned hunting rifle. After Jenny filled the bullet, she aimed it at the one behind the masked killer sheriff. The rubber duck filled with hydrogen, accompanied by a gunshot. The bullet hit the hydrogen in the rubber duck. The explosion shattered the sheriff's body into pieces, and thus the movie ends. Black Friday. It's known as a shopping frenzy. When people are immersed in the shopping frenzy, we forget about the existence of order. Once order collapses, it will bring us unforeseen consequences. The biggest difference between humans and animals, it is order and morality. But when all of that is absent, can we bear the consequences? If you like my channel, please click subscribe.